Hello, hockey fans. Thought I would do on this video beginning at 8:57 on the evening of Monday, 26th of September 2022, North American Eastern Time, to continue in my response in the second of two parts, how to do with a video having been posted on the YouTube channel of the Gluttons for Punishment podcast, and a claim in particular by Anthony Bruno about the supposed need for Maple Leaf Sports Entertainment, the ownership group of the Leafs, Raptors, and a few other sports teams to consult with Austin Matthews about the future of GM Kyle Dubas. With Mr. Bruno's take, I say sorry, but the Leafs haven't had playoff success. Dubas should have been fired after the debacle of a series against the Blue Jackets. And yes, Matthews should be faulted, for his own role. But again, Dubas signed those big contracts, octuple-digit contracts that were not at the time justified and still aren't. And now I'm going to look at contracts with the Canucks that were signed before the Orca Bay Sports Entertainment, whatever it happened to be called, the ownership group of the Canucks. Mainly run by Francesco Aquilini, his brother and their dad, decided to get rid of Jim Benning, or at least to hire Patrick Alvin, after having hired on an interim basis for a bit over a month between the firing of Benning and the hiring of Alvin, Stan Smeel. So again, just as a recap, I send my condolences to. Just going to turn on the CG Vancouver News. Just going to watch it a bit later. Alright, just gonna turn on the news there. So, enough of that. So, just to recap, will Jim Benning get to decide any more signing to the Canucks? No, because he was fired, as Bergevin of the Habs was last December, or at least by then. Bergevin and Benning were out, respectively, as Habs and Canucks general managers. In part one of this video series, two-part series, I discussed various contracts of the Habs. This time, I'm going to go to the Canucks. So, among expiring contracts we have, the coming season, at the end of the current season, Bo Horvat, a center, signed for a $5.5 million per season cap hit, and no restrictive movement clauses, as far as I'm concerned. Andrei Kuzmenko on entry-level contract, a former member of the Continental Hockey League, to do on an unrestricted free agent. We also have Niels Hoglander, a winger, who becomes a restricted free agent at the end of the season. Justin Dowling, a center winger, who becomes an unrestricted free agent at the end of the season. Those are among the forwards. Now I'm going to go to the defensemen. We have Travis Dermott, who becomes eligible for arbitration rights as part of his restricted free agency at the end of the season, unless re-signed. So if the Canucks don't, so unless the Canucks come up with a deal, and by June, they have to decide whether to give him a qualifying offer, and who knows. Luke Shen and Kyle Burrows will become unrestricted free agents unless re-signed. And Brady Keeper, a defenseman, he's on an injured reserve, will become an unrestricted free agent at the end of next season. Ditto for winger Michael Furland, and well, who knows. So now to go to the Abbotsford Canucks, or junior or major junior leagues. among oh wait, they're no minors. So basically, the Abbotsford Canucks, or Abbey Canucks for short. So we'll go to Carson Vogt. Let's see where he's from. It's Canadian. Sounds like a German name, but whatever. He's from one of the Prairie provinces. So we have Carson Vogt, entry level contract, restricted free agency is next season. William Lockwood, a winger. All right. Carson Vogt, center. William Lockwood, a winger. Is a restricted free agent, but with such restricted free agency coming with arbitration rights. Philip Giuseppe and John Stevens are unrestricted free. Will become UFAs should Alvin choose to re-sign neither of them. We also go Colin Delia, a goalie, who become UFA at the end of the season unless re-signed. Ditto for D-man Christian Willanen. And among the RFAs within the minors, or at least the reigning ones among D-men, among goalies, we have pending RFA for Mike DiPietro. We're going to have to see what happens. If what happens, because DiPietro won't have arbitration rights when his current contract expires. Although Wyatt Kalynuk will, and although as a result, Canucks GM Alvin will have to decide whether Mr. Kalynuk deserves to be qualified. The others don't have that. Other D-men don't. Jet Wu, one of them. It's on an entry-level contract. Guillaume Brisebois and Noah Yulson. So we'll have to see what happens. It's going to be interesting to find out. But at the end of the day, things are the way they are, and I'm going to go upload this video, and by the time we get back, I'm going to have something to mail. I'm going to pick up some food, and then I'll go from there. So to consult Matthews, just before I get into whether MLC should consult Austin Matthews, I say this. I'm just going to say that I got my stats in terms of contract lengths, and who becomes free agent, unrestricted, restricted, arbitration rights. I get all my stats from CapFriendly, capfriendly.com. Teams are on that site ranked in order of cap hit. So anyway, that's the end. I'm really hopeful that the Leafs will do well and that they'll win at least one playoff series, but it's hard to know. After a weekend that was rather mixed, and 5 goals given up over 2 games, not being the best in the world, Leafs have some work to do for Wednesday when they hit the ice against the Habs. Leafs at Scotiabank Arena. Again, yes, there are no prizes for preseason success, but the Leafs have to up their game. They have to up their defensive game, because clearly their main team, which played game 2 of the doubleheader, the evening one on Saturday, North American Eastern Time, clearly wasn't up to the job. Kyle Yarncroc scored 2 goals. No other teammate of his scored a goal. Yes, Matthews, Bunting assisted on goals, but no teammate of Yarncroc's scored a goal in that game, and that's a problem. It's true. It's important to not over-rely on Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, John Tavares, Will Nylander, Jake Muzzin, or Morgan Riley to, score goals to keep the puck out of the Leafs net But at the end of the day, it's a team effort. Leafs win or lose as a team. And if there aren't enough pieces to get the Leafs going, it doesn't matter what anyone thinks of Dubas. What matters is that Dubas failed again. The Leafs don't end up winning at least one playoff series. Obviously, I'm hoping for a conference final at least. I mean, the Oilers did so last season, but it's hard to know. It's going to be a bumpy ride, Leafs fans. As much as I'd like Dubas to have already been gone and Shanahan to have been gone and replaced by respective competent replaced by competent replacements as for GM and president, that probably ain't going to happen until at least partway through the regular season. I'll see what happens, but certainly, if an NHL team is well out of the playoff picture by the end of November, it probably ain't going to get back in. The Canucks were well out of the playoff picture by November last year, and as hard as they tried under Bruce Boudreau and after Jim Benning as GM, Stan Smeel and Patrick Allvin, the Canucks ended up 5 points short of a playoff spot, of the nearest available playoff spot. So Canucks have the possibility of making the playoffs, but after 2 games and being outscored 7-2 again, by the Calgary Flames, being shut out on the road, but losing in overtime at home, Canucks are going to have work to do with their own. So it's going to be interesting to find out how the various Canadian teams finish. Certainly, I hope that a Canadian team other than the Habs will this season win a Stanley Cup. It's hard to know, though, what's going to happen. And in terms of odds of winning a Stanley Cup, I'd say the Oilers are number 1, Flames number 2, Canucks are still number 3, but that's if they get into the postseason. But that's because also Canucks have a much more recent track record of playoff success than the Leafs do. Leafs are number 4 because I give the Leafs a good chance of making the postseason, but still, anything can happen. And in terms of best to worst in terms of odds of winning a Stanley Cup, among the Jets, Senators, and among the Senators, Jets, and Habs, teams in that order. Anyway, go Leafs, go.